another test stream, because the previous ones I've been just literally dealing with Minecraft. With this one, I wanted to do something that was a little bit of a test of some different stuff, which kind of incorporates multiple screens. So I'll be kind of looking at these three. All in all, I probably should just move that one over a little bit. So here we have Unity, which is the game engine that I am using for Revoco. Mono Develop, which comes packaged with Unity. And I'm hoping that no music is actually playing in the background, because obviously I have my rock on, but it shouldn't be coming through the speakers, hopefully. What's the other thing? Oh yeah. And so the other one is Blender, where I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm building sort of plans of models. This will be the Iron Foundry. Yeah. So yeah, this one will be the Iron Foundry, and then we'll have there'll be some other stuff as well. So I'm just gonna plow into it really and just see what needs doing ultimately. So Sola 1, might want to work a little bit on Sola 1. So the whole idea of this is the core code is in. I'm just going to stop the music actually, just while I'm talking. The core code is in. I'm doing a little bit with menus. So if I jump into something, oh god, yeah, this stream will literally be half an hour-ish for a reason. I'm brain fried as it is, but I did want to do a test stream on this because I don't really know how it's all going to handle it. I'm hoping it'll handle it all right. Might want to allow for a little bit more down here-ish. I don't know. Anyway, so not that there's anything really down here, it's just stuff. So, what was I thinking? Yeah, so I open Ops menu. Yeah, save that. So we've got all these things that just got button in here at the moment, because these will all be linked into the different ones. So the whole idea, so operations is like a campaign, a tutorial, building up from something as simple as repairing solar panels to more complicated tasks. So we've got solar panels as the first one, which will just kind of be an introductory level to sort of controlling your drone and basic sort of maintenance of stuff. And then coal 2 will be sort of a coal mine, so getting coal mine operational. 3 will be iron is 4. What's 3? I can't actually remember what 3 was. It's coal. But yeah, there's going to be other ones anyway. So yeah, that's basically what's going on with that. And then I just need to upgrade this menu to something that looks a little bit nicer and more along the lines of operations. There also will be a sandbox, which should link into here. So this is the sandbox. This is all using not exactly old code, but old ideas, I guess. This whole idea of just sort of dropping into a world and dealing with stuff. And you are this little drone, which you can see sort of there. I will show you the drone if I can. So yeah, the drone model that I'm using at the moment is this one. but I probably would upgrade to the Mohawk drone at a later date when it's a little bit more complete. I think I can do a little bit more with the various drones. I want to make it a little bit more, I guess, junky. So something that looks like it's been built in scrap heap. But yeah. So the whole idea of this game is repairing stuff. That's all it is. It's like Viscera cleanup detail, where you are literally just dropped into a world to clean it up. It sort of runs along those same lines. Something that is not really it's not really such a big thing at the moment, especially not when you consider different systems that you can potentially build. So if a light bulb isn't working, a light isn't working, you have various things that could be the problem. And so by working through, you don't necessarily have to replace the light bulb, the light switch, the fuse box. All you need to do is look at various aspects of the level to determine whether or not the light needs fixing or if it's something more major. So if you have a room with lights in, multiple lights, and one of the lights is out, chances are it's a light bulb problem, so you might change that light bulb. If in that room all the lights are out and for some reason it's buffering, if all the lights are out, then you might think, okay, either all the light bulbs have gone or the switch has gone. So you might sort of work on from there. If it's just the lights, then you know that it's either the light bulbs or it's the light switch. If other systems in the room aren't working, then maybe it's a more severe power issue. And so by building the system to have some kind of an underlying linked power system, I guess, you can create a world where through logical thinking you can actually fix the problems rather than just replacing everything, which would be quite costly. And I have tried building this, I think I'm on the 3rd or 4th complete Recode, because it never really worked properly. I had a few good versions, but it never really worked, and I think this is possibly the better way to do it. But then again, that's what I thought last time, and the time before, and the time before that. So, yeah. Yay for games development. For some reason, this is buffering. Still. Am I dropping? And this is why I do test streams. No drop frames. Everything's live. Maybe it's just the page that's messed up. Yeah, I think it was just the page that's messed up. Okay. Right. So we are actually... Yeah, okay. So I'm going to do some stuff. Just kind of stress test it. So if you're watching this now, which nobody is watching this, but yeah, if you're watching this later on, this was basically a test stream to work out how good various aspects of my internet is. The answer to that is not brilliant. It's incredible. You pay for fibre optic and then you don't actually get fibre optic speeds. Oof. That's a little bit of a point of contention. Of course, all of that will be fixed once we're out of the EU. We'll be able to do something about our internet and make it less terrible, obviously. Oof. All this referendum stuff is ridiculous, quite honestly. Of all the things that the Tory party could stick to, it was the EU referendum, and it's absolutely pointless, because we really don't want to be on our own in a world like this. It's and with the country in this state, there's no point. So anyway, we could end up in a world like the world of Frozen Skies, which is the world that this is actually built in. And I do keep on meaning to do videos on how worlds can be created to make the world feel a little bit more, I don't know, lived in. Because that's something that you don't really see in Battlefield games. You just you're this soldier and you're doing things and you're just railroaded. You don't really feel like you're part of a story. You just feel like you're, I don't know, an observer with a little bit of control over a gun, but ultimately you are just an observer in a world that you don't really understand. But yeah, maybe once maybe I might want to talk about that. It's going to be a little bit of a difficult one, because in order to talk about factions, you have to relate to the factions that are in the real world now, and then you kind of got to pick which ones to talk about, which ones, when you talk about it in a factual manner, which ones aren't going to bite you. I suspect some of the things like talking about the IRA might be a little bit more easier than some of the movements around now, I guess. But yeah, right. Let's do some stuff, shall we? I need to start setting up Sola 1, so we'll do that. So this is Sola 1, and I need some layouts. No, components, is it? I can never remember where terrain is. Game object. Oh, here we go, yeah. Alright, so. Oh, yeah. Come on. Sorry, my Unity stopped doing things. Oh, no? For some reason I can't move my camera. At all. Okay. Oh, yeah, because it's on. Yeah. I don't know why it was stuck on game, but anyway. Right, so this is basically what you get given in Unity when you just start off. Oh, actually, no. Let's get rid of that for a second. So this is what you get on a blank canvas in Unity. And then if you go into Game Objects, 3D Object, and Terrain, you get a terrain object. Now this terrain is fully deformable, so you can do all sorts of things, and it will also smooth it at the end. So let's make it a little bit more bumpy, just a tad around where we're going to drop our camera, which is this thing, and we want it to drop it in a little bit further into the center, and somewhere about there. Now, you'd probably be using a very similar system no matter what. Well, it depends on the game that you're making. The great thing about Unity is that it is a very versatile piece of software. Something like Unreal Engine is brilliant for first-person shooters, but it's not so great for anything else. And plus, the last time I tried to use Unreal Engine, it wasn't particularly easy to use as a beginner. You had to do an awful lot of setting things up in order to use your own assets and use your own code, which Unity doesn't really do. It's all out of the box. You can build a game out of the box using Unity. With other engines, it can be a little bit more complicated to set things up. And it might have changed. Unreal Engine might have got a little bit better. I know the idiots at Digital Homicide have started using Unreal Engine for some things. So maybe it's got easier. I can't imagine those guys being able to use Unreal Engine as it used to be. I mean, look at their games. They are not exactly geniuses of the gaming world. Right, so I need to texture this. Just texture it. I do have some textures that I've already made. Of course, I am using a very simplistic art style. This is basically because I absolutely suck at making textures. So I learnt this quite early on. And this is the case with a lot of games that I play. I don't necessarily want a realistic art style. I want a consistent art style. And is it that one? Yeah, I think it is that one. That one. Yeah, it is that one. Yeah. So what I want from a game is a consistent art style. I don't mind if it doesn't look particularly good. What I care about is the gameplay. However, if the gameplay isn't very good and there's a real mishmash of different art styles, then I'm not going to want to buy the game. Which is why I don't own any Digital Homicide games, because you look at them and you think all those art styles are different because they are all assets that have been bought off the store and then thrown in without actually thinking about how they link together, which is why you saw things like the British phone booth and the American post box next to one another, and you thought, why are those there? And it just destroys any sort of sense that this isn't an actual world that people live and work in. It's just a world that has been mishmashed together and then used as a stage for the game. Developers do need to put a little bit more effort than that into their worlds, and most of that is, as long as you've got a consistent art style, I don't think people will, and good gameplay, I don't think people will necessarily mind. Especially if you've got something reasonably unique, like Revoco is. It's designed to be. I don't know if it will ever actually get to the level of uniqueness that I want, because unfortunately, my brain tends to run a little bit out of control, and I start creating ideas that are far above what I'm actually capable of doing. I guess, like what we saw with Introversion and, when they made Subversion, absolutely phenomenal technology that was being poured into that game. But the game ended up being dropped in favour of Prison Architect, because Prison Architect was something that was actually going to work. Whereas Subversion was some very interesting concepts, but nothing that was actually put together into a solid game. I hope to see elements of Subversion returning in Introversion's projects. Certainly what they've got going does look very interesting. This idea that, and actually we do see that in their bomb disposal game, Wrong Wire, that they showcased on, not their last video, but the video before, where it was an entire sort of, so a bomb isn't a bomb, it's a series of components that when you put it together, creates an explosive device. So you might have, detonators and triggers and the explosive compound itself, or multiple, booby traps and the like. And it all comes together into creating an explosive device, but any one of those components by themselves wouldn't necessarily equal a bomb. So, yeah, that's that kind of inspired me to make Revoco, I must say. and it is very tily, but I don't think you'll notice too much when you're actually down there. I do need a light source as well. Light, directional light. Let's just give it a little bit more blue. Just a very soft blue, because obviously I want to create the illusion that this is a very cold world. This is an ice age, so mankind has left this planet mostly. People have been left behind. This is as a result of the arcs. Not necessarily, some of the arcs didn't leave, some of them crashed. The supply ships that were meant to go up there and supply the orbital platforms before humanity left this planet altogether. Some of them didn't take off, or some of them crashed. The whole evacuation was basically done very, very abruptly, and so the craftsmanship of the arcs and of the supply ships weren't necessarily top quality. So some of them didn't actually make it up. So that's some of humanity, and then the rest of humanity are basically the people who were deemed not to be deserving of having a chance in space. The criminals, basically. The criminals, or the unskilled, who were basically left behind. And then you've got this third faction, I guess, which are the survivalists, the people who didn't want to go up, the people who thought that they could probably create something new and better down on the planet. And then over time you build up this idea of mythos, these places that are dangerous to go, and thus they must be filled with treasure. Well, maybe not. Those big warning signs are up for a reason. They're not saying stay away because there's loads of treasure here. They're saying stay away because there's lots of toxic waste here. But over time, cultures, communities, they build up taboos and mythos and all that surrounding these places. As an example of that, something that we've got actually in the real world, the first emperor of China, when he died of mercury poisoning because he was of the belief that mercury tablets could make him live forever. Now, he didn't exactly live forever. He died. I can't remember how old he was when he died, but it wasn't that long after ingesting mercury tablets. But his tomb is said to have been shaped in. So it was shaped in it like his world, the domain that he ruled over was shaped, landscaped in his tomb, and the rivers were liquid mercury, quicksilver. And as a result, because this has been documented by the people of the time, and then this has been passed on generation through generation, this idea that that the emperor is down there. The problem is that today we know that mercury isn't particularly pleasant, and we also vaguely know where the first emperor is. However, digging in there, you might find some great treasures, but you also might find the mercury. But we don't necessarily know that the mercury is down there. It's just said to be down there. We don't really know. And this is how you get this mythos of belief. This, you see it. Unicorns, dragons. All of this has a basis in reality. It's just that it's been seen by people who didn't know what was going on, and so a story has been constructed around it and then passed on through generation and generation, which is why you end up with the whole idea of the dragons and the unicorns and the elves, werewolves, vampires. Werewolves and vampires, quite likely to do with genetic mutations. And, people saw somebody covered in hair and so assumed that they must be a werewolf. And that's kind of what I want to put across in Frozen Skies, but also partly in revoco as well. You pilot a drone and you're fixing stuff. You're fixing old world technology for the survivalists, the people who are reasonably intelligent. They are intelligent enough to know to use drones to go into these places that could be quite dangerous, to revive them rather than sending actual people into them. That's the basic idea about all this. I've ended up basically talking about factions and mythos and all this sort of stuff that I kind of wanted to do in a video, but may as well do it in one of these. I don't really know how good a quality this is. Now I've got about 4 minutes left of this video. I haven't really done anything, I've just been chatting about stuff. That's kind of why I wanted to do a stream, to see what I could do. And it seems that I am unable to watch my video whilst... something to explore. I mean, the weather isn't particularly nice here. Maybe that's causing some problems, considering a thunderstorm once took my internet out for 4 weeks. That was a bit annoying. Right. Yes. Very, very cold world. And you're a drone operator, and in this level you'll be guided through how you rebuild or reactivate a solar farm. So you'll be doing things like replacing solar panels and fuses, and looking at the substations. There'll be a very, very sort of simplistic power chain to follow to find where the problems are. It won't be very complicated. I don't want Solar 1 to be particularly complicated, considering you're just going to have some solar panels and a substation, and maybe a little bit of detailing to make it look a little, reasonably run down. Some bit of foliage, maybe a road. I might put a road in now actually, and just sort of block out. Right, where am I? Where's my starting point? So really I want my starting point to be reasonably in the middle. So let's add in my other texture that I made, which is path text. It's not particularly great, but I can just use it to create a sort of where I want stuff to end up. So I think a sort of a path in sort of here, and we can have some solar panels. I'll build up this so we've got a little bit of a ridge up here, and then sort of the main area can be sort of here-ish, reasonably square, like so. So let's just do a little bit of detailing. So we can sort of bring up the, I can actually raise, paint a height, height of about, I don't know, 2 maybe, just to kind of build up a little bit of an embankment along here, like so. And then I can neaten up the roadway a little bit, add a little bit of gravel at the side, maybe replace it with a gravel, sort of a gravel path, like so. And then you kind of get, then over here will be the substation. I'll probably model that substation tonight off camera, and some solar panels dotted around. And then the player will be, I just need to add a few scripts, so camera control, mouse look, add component, character, first person input controller. So that will allow for the player to actually move the camera around and then move forwards and left and right and all that with the WASD keys. And then I can just move that down the road a bit, about there, and let's just rotate it around so that we spawn on a road and we're looking down the road towards what will be solar panels jutting up. A solar farm, if you like. A small one, but a solar farm nonetheless. And yes, just as I'm about to finish the stream, then people come and watch it. Hello, people. I was about to finish the stream actually, but feel free to go back and watch it when it's finished processing. It was just basically a quick sort of half-hour test stream just to see how good my internet handled it and the like. And I've shown off some Unity and talked about random rubbish. So with that, I will say thank you very much for watching or tuning in, people. And I'll see you next time. And when I actually start doing these properly, I will schedule them so people know that they are actually happening rather than me just doing them on a whim. So yeah. Anyway, thanks guys. I'll see you next time.